Right, so let's move on to Syrahs here. This is the '07 Thompson Vineyard Syrah
Perfect.
from Santa Barbara County.
Yeah, as I mentioned earlier, I haven't been down south to any of the vineyards, so it's nice that Wells has brought a few of the soil samples to show. A lot of people ask why he sources from down south, and I always talk about the different soil types, so we have a few examples to show you.
Yeah, it's my rock collection, as people call it. So it's it tends to be a little obnoxious, but again, the long and short of it is go kind of where the soil is, or lack thereof, which tends to be my normal statement. But Thompson is a well-known vineyard. I had the wines from Adam Tomac from Ojai back before I even started making wine. I was working at the Wine Spectator, and he was making Thompson Syrah back in the day, and I just fell in love with it. And as it turns out, I was able to go back and get some fruit from the vineyard. Jeff Newton's company down there farms the vineyard for David Thompson, and there's a section there that's right by his house. It's about 7 acres, I believe, 7 maybe 8. That is own-rooted Syrah that was planted, I believe, over 20 years ago now.
Wow.
So this is the source for this wine, has been since '06, and we used to get another section. It was kind of same clone, but on rootstock, and I believe it was 5C. That was kind of away from the house, a different little ridge line, and we dropped out of that and focused on this because I was keeping the wine separate and found that the old vine, own-rooted Syrah, just seemed to outperform the younger.
Interesting.
Yeah, so,
So starting in 06?
Mm-hmm. Source just the old vine.
Right.
And that's kind of been the biggest challenge. I mean, I use stems in all the wines. So both the Thompson and the James Berry that we'll taste is 50% whole cluster. Again, my thought process for Syrah comes from the time I spent working in the Northern Rhone. And but there's always been a challenge of kind of this palate weight and lightness. You still get in those wines that it's a challenge, and trying to find the right spot. And again, I'm not trying to make something someone's going to pick up the wine and go, oh, this is Côte Rôtie, but there's I mentioned the same thing about that with Pinot. There's a lightness, a sensibility that I think is what I'm talking about. There's a way to make a balanced, structured wine that is elegant at the same time.
Right.
That still can speak of its place, but not be like you can stand a fork in it. And that's, I think, the challenge. Even with some of our older wines, is just trying to find that happy medium between so much structure and tannin that you lose some of the sense of place or the ability for someone to actually consume it, and potentially in its youth or
later on
with some food.
Yeah.
It can become tiring, I think, sometimes to drink. It means you get a glass like this and you're okay, but finishing the whole bottle can sometimes be a chore. So, and this is from my own perspective. Yeah, I mean, it's just, so again, I mean, the Thompson, for instance, I think this is, I think arguably our best yet. I keep saying that with all the wines, but it just, I mean, it's an evolution in winemaking and trying to figure out where that happy medium is, again, riding that line.
Right.
And I think if you don't learn something every year and try to refine it, then what's the point?
Right, that's true. We should also, so Thompson is planted in sandy loam, is that correct? Do you have a sample so we can?
Well, the alluvial soils, but this is, there's more pictures on our website, but you can see where it's just kind of washed cobbles. There are some kind of,
that's crazy.
There are some limestone rocks there, but it's most of it is, again, it's alluvial, which is alluvial fans of rock that's been washed and rounded by water over time.
So soft.
And most of that area there is underwater at some point. It's interesting to see other places that were more maritime, which we'll see that in the James Berry, but it always makes a wine that has this kind of, well, for me, it's tried to tell myself I'm not going to talk about specifics of aromatic profiles, but it's something distinctive about this. It always smells like black olives. Has kind of a pencil lead gunflick kind of quality to it that is interesting, which I think is.
Right. I always think of Thompson, and I think of smoky. It's my first.
Yeah, and even
I
these
love the
are
aroma.
in 07 are about 15% new wood. So that's the other thing is that there's
Wow.
less and less new wood, and in 08 I think we've got 3 of the Syrahs that actually have new wood at all. A lot don't have any new wood. So I think it's been the challenge also is just the stem tannins and the Syrah tannins fighting with the wood tannins, and it's just kind of like moving to a point where
It's the grape itself that you're smelling.
grape and the stems and the you know, and then the kind of the place. Hopefully,
Exactly.
you know, it's.
I could just smell this all day long.
Yeah, I think this wine is in particular has always been something that you're commenting about the 05 being good now. It's needed some time. I think this wine is more approachable now when young than the 05 was, and even I think any of the wines that I've made off of Thompson, it's still a structure from the stems that needs time. And I think no matter what kind of style of Syrah you make, for the most part,
It's
not
interesting,
gonna really
yeah.
kind of pull the cork and drink it kind of wine. I think that's what's been the challenge again out in the marketplace is that it's if you trying to make from these kind of places that are rocky and make profound kind of wines, they need time.
Right.
And it's not a varietal that is like meant from California in particular and these kind of coastal regions and grown in rock that is going to make this big, lush, juicy, come drink me now wine, particularly in the style that I'm making with the stem inclusion and kind of backing off on the alcohol. You know, this year's is 14.4.
It's really plush. You know, it's hard, you know, you don't use that term too much with the Syrah, but it's just, it's silky and plush and soft. I mean, it definitely has tannins, but
You get the stem
I'm
tannin in the
surprised,
background, but
yeah.
it's I think most people assume that the stems are going to have this green component to the wine, and the stems are never fully brown. I've never seen a brown Syrah stem, even when I was working in the room. So it's a misnomer to say that Syrah stems get brown because I've never seen it.
Interesting.
And well, I say never, like I've seen everything, but the point is, from Syrah vineyards
your
all over the state,
experience,
and then also
yeah.
working in the Rhone, I've never seen, but they get like in a yellow green, and they still have this kind of an astringency in a good way. And people take astringency as being something as a negative. I think it's hard to. You're right. Again, it's a fine line between too much, and that's where I, as winemaker, need to find out what that is. And
Right.
some of that's been changed by using less wood, new wood, and doing only pump overs. So the wine just get pumped over. There's no physical extraction anymore of breaking up stems and kind of extracting a lot more of the stem tannin. And so, you know, again, you get one shot a year, and you know.
I think
make some
it's
progress with
fabulous.
time,
Again,
so.
it's kind of going with your theory of just letting the vineyard speak for itself by minimal pump overs and less wood. It's
Yeah.
fantastic.
I think over time this will prove to be the best one to date, but
That's good.
yeah.